There is a number sitting in almost every bank account across the United States and Canada right now that quietly proves a person is losing money without a single red warning sign ever appearing on the screen. It looks safe. It looks smart. It looks like real financial progress because the balance keeps climbing month after month. But by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why that comfortable feeling can be misleading and what the small group of people who actually build lasting wealth are doing differently starting today. Stick around, because the next part explains the exact moment where most people quietly get stuck for years without even realizing it. The moment most people get stuck. Picture someone who has genuinely done everything right. They stopped overspending. They built a habit of moving money into savings every single payday without fail. Months pass, and the balance climbs steadily. $10,000 sits there looking like a trophy earned through discipline and patience. Then, one quiet evening, they check the interest earned across the entire year, and the number is almost embarrassing compared to the effort it took to save. That exact moment is where most people freeze completely. They sense something is off, but they have no clear idea what step actually comes next, and that confusion quietly keeps them stuck in the same spot for years while opportunities pass them by. Here is something most people never hear explained clearly anywhere. A savings account has exactly one job and only one job. Its purpose is protection, not growth, and those two things are not the same thing at all. Meanwhile, the price of groceries, rent, gas, and everyday life keeps climbing steadily every single year without pause. So when your money sits still while the cost of living keeps moving forward, your money is technically shrinking in terms of what it can actually buy, even while the number displayed on your screen keeps going up. This gap between a rising number and shrinking buying power is exactly why so many disciplined savers still feel like they are falling behind. Stay with me, because the next part changes how you see money forever. Wealthy households rarely think about their money as one giant pile sitting in a single account. Instead, they split their money into two completely different jobs with two completely different purposes. Job one is protection money. This money sits, still stays boring, and exists purely so that life emergencies never destroy your bigger plans or force you into debt. Job two is growth money. This money is allowed to move up and down over time because its entire purpose is multiplying steadily across years and decades rather than staying flat. The moment someone truly understands this split, the fear around investing starts to fade because they finally know exactly which pile is supposed to stay calm and which pile is supposed to work hard on their behalf. Before a single dollar ever moves toward investing, you need a cushion covering roughly 3 to 6 months of your normal living expenses, sitting safely in cash where you can reach it instantly. This step is not optional, and skipping it is the single biggest reason beginners end up panicking later during a rough market. Think of this cushion as armor protecting everything you build afterward. Without it, a surprise car repair, medical bill, or sudden job loss forces you to pull money out of investments at exactly the worst possible moment. With that cushion firmly in place, you can let your investments sit untouched through good years and rough years alike, without ever feeling forced to react out of fear. Once your cushion is fully built, something genuinely powerful happens inside your mind. Every extra dollar you earn now has a clear destination instead of piling up in one confusing account with no real purpose. You stop constantly asking yourself whether you should save this dollar or invest this dollar, because the answer becomes automatic and obvious. Your emergency cushion is already full, so any new money now flows naturally toward growth without hesitation or second guessing. This one simple mental rule removes an enormous amount of daily stress and decision fatigue around everyday money choices. A huge myth stops far too many people cold before they ever begin. They genuinely believe investing requires thousands of dollars sitting around before it even makes sense to start the process. That belief is completely false, and it keeps millions of people frozen on the sidelines for years. Modern platforms across the United States and Canada now let regular everyday people begin investing with an amount smaller than a weekly coffee habit. The real goal in the very beginning has almost nothing to do with how much money you put in each month. The real goal is building the habit of showing up consistently every single month, no matter what the headlines are saying. New investors often get pulled toward excitement without even realizing the trap they are walking into. Fast trades, flashy predictions, and complicated strategies feel thrilling in the moment, but they quietly destroy more beginner accounts than almost anything else in personal finance. The investors who actually build lasting wealth over decades tend to choose something far less exciting on the surface. They choose broad, diversified funds that own tiny slices of hundreds of different companies at once instead of betting everything on guessing a single future winner. Boring and steady wins this particular race almost every single time, and that exact pattern has repeated itself across multiple generations of investors. Let's slow down for a moment and look at something that sounds almost unbelievable the first time you actually see it laid out. Imagine someone consistently invests a modest amount every single month for 25 straight years, while the overall market grows at a typical long-term historical average. The total amount that person personally contributed out of their own pocket might only make up roughly a third of the final balance sitting in their account. The remaining two-thirds comes purely from growth, compounding quietly year after year in the background, while that person simply went on living their normal life. This is the part school never sits students down and teaches clearly, and it is honestly the entire secret behind almost every ordinary millionaire next door you have ever heard about. Every single investor eventually faces a scary red month where the account balance falls sharply and news headlines scream about disaster on every channel. Here is the calm truth almost nobody bothers explaining clearly. Market drops are not failures, and they never have been. They are completely normal and expected parts of the long-term cycle, and they have happened repeatedly throughout history, before eventually recovering and climbing to brand new highs afterward. Someone who keeps investing steadily right through a downturn is quietly buying shares at a discount without even fully realizing what is happening in the moment. Panic selling during that exact moment is historically the single most damaging decision an everyday investor can possibly make with their money. There is one mistake that quietly delays almost every beginner without them even noticing it happening. They wait for the perfect moment to begin instead of simply starting with whatever amount feels comfortable right now. They tell themselves they will start once they get a raise, once the market looks calmer, or once they finally feel ready enough to understand every single detail. But waiting for perfect timing almost always turns into waiting forever, because there is never a moment that feels completely risk-free. The people who end up ahead years later are rarely the ones who waited for ideal conditions. They are simply the ones who started small imperfectly and adjusted their plan along the way as they learned more. Think about a farmer holding a handful of seeds in their open palm. Locking those seeds inside a sealed jar keeps them perfectly safe forever, but they never become anything more than seeds sitting in a jar collecting dust. Planting those exact same seeds in soil instead looks messy and uncertain at first, with nothing visible happening for quite a while. But with enough patience and enough time, that same handful eventually grows into something far bigger and far more valuable than anyone could have guessed just by staring at the original seeds. Saving is the sealed jar. Investing is the soil. Both genuinely matter in their own way, but only one of them actually grows into something new over time. People who eventually build real lasting wealth stop measuring their success by checking their balance every single day like a nervous habit. They start thinking in decades instead of days, and that one single shift in perspective quietly changes almost every financial decision that follows afterward. They stop reacting emotionally to scary headlines designed to grab attention. They stop comparing their own quiet journey to someone else's flashy highlight reel online. They simply keep showing up consistently, month after month, and let time do the heavy lifting that their entire long-term strategy actually depends on. Plenty of people spend years trying to guess the exact perfect week to jump into investing, hoping to catch prices at their lowest possible point. Even seasoned professionals with entire teams of analysts rarely manage to time the market correctly on a consistent basis. The far more reliable approach is showing up on the same schedule every single month, regardless of what the headlines are saying that week. Some months, you buy in when prices are high, and some months, you buy in when prices are low, and over time, those two outcomes tend to balance each other out. This steady rhythm removes the guesswork entirely and replaces it with a simple, repeatable habit that quietly works in the background, year after year. If you already have a solid emergency cushion sitting safely in savings, today might genuinely be the exact day you open your very first investing account and start small with real confidence. If that cushion is not fully built, yet your very next move is simple and completely clear, keep strengthening that safety net first, because it is the foundation everything else in this entire plan stands on top of. Either way, you now know exactly which stage you are currently standing in and exactly what comes next, and that kind of clarity alone puts you ahead of most people who never take the time to map any of this out for themselves. So here's a real honest question for you before this video ends completely. Are you still sitting fully in the saving stage right now? Or have you already taken that first brave step into investing your own money? Type your honest answer down in the comments below, because naming it out loud tends to make people actually follow through on their plans. If this breakdown gave you a clearer path forward, today make sure to like this video and subscribe for more, because the next video builds directly on exactly what you just learned here, and you will genuinely not want to miss it.